Hi, and welcome back to Dogs Do Speak podcast with myself, Colin Spence, and the wonderful Samantha Wayland. Today we have two wonderful guests. We got Katie and Debbie Gross, and they are here today to talk to us about rescues. Now, here's the thing, it's not about rescues in the UK. It's also about rescues in the United States, how they differ, what the welfare looks like, how dogs are treated, good and bad rescues. And so we will delve deeper into how rescues are run in the United Kingdom as well as the USA. And the other good thing we have today is that Samantha also works in rescue. So I may not get a word in edgeways because we've got three ladies, wonderful ladies, that know their stuff about rescue dogs. So without further ado, Katie, can you just introduce yourself and tell the people watching who you are and how you got into rescue?
Absolutely. My name's Katie Locks. I am in the United States in the state of Virginia. Um, I got into rescue 30 years ago because I fell in love with dachshunds. I really, really fell in love with them. And I started to realize that they were very misunderstood. I didn't understand them. If anybody has dachshunds, they know what I'm talking about. Um, it's it's a very curated relationship. It takes a while. So that's how I got into rescue because the dachshunds needed an advocate. They needed somebody that could understand them and get to know them. And I've been doing it ever since.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And Debbie, how about yourself?
Oh, I got into rescue over 30 years ago. First family dog was from a rescue when we went on holiday and came back with a Labrador cross something or other. And she was amazing. And I was only 8 years old and it was my first ever dog. So just, she was just my best friend. And went on from there, more rescue dogs from, well, actually every time we went on holiday until my dad said we're not going there anymore because every time we come back with an animal. So we got dogs, cats, all sorts. And then I started volunteering for a rescue centre, should I say, in Berkshire, no pun intended, and then started volunteering for Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, and it all fell into place from there. And I spent 5 wonderful years working for Battersea. I still have friends who work there. And obviously, I met Katie through the Legs in Motion conference last May, and I met Samantha 3 years ago now. So yeah, we've got a big common love and a big passion for rescue.
Okay. So coming back to you, Katie, um, rescues in the US, are they regulated?
Well, I guess that is really dependent from state to state. So I understand from talking to you earlier that in the UK, it's regulated throughout the entire country. That is not the case here at all. It is state by state. There are some overall federal regulations and guidelines, but they're very loose. They don't really protect animals or people. I mean, they're just very loose, but that is also because our government is designed to be that umbrella and then have the states take on the more local regulations. So, but even by state, they can be regulated by county. Like when your state breaks down into counties, then each county could have their own kind of rules and regulations as far as what they will let slide with certain rescues. And that's really a lot in part because some rural areas, some suburban areas, some metropolitan areas, things like that. So it does make sense that maybe the rules aren't the same in each area. But yeah, there's regulation, but just like anything, there's always room for improvement. And I think as far as, because there is a big crisis over here, and it could be everywhere, but over here with rescue in general, I think that a lot of the animal controls and local authorities are trying to do a better job to advocate for the animals, and hopefully make this situation better. Because I was at a shelter yesterday. I think they have capacity for 16. They could have been at 30. It's, they're just busting at the seams. So yeah, I mean, there is regulation. Uh, it is difficult to kind of pinpoint um, who's overseeing what parts and who's going to regulate. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's very, very divided. It's all over the place. So you just gotta kind of know which area you're in, what regulations you're following. It could change over here. That's the way it goes here.
Yeah, which makes it very difficult for anyone looking to want to adopt the different rules, different regulations and policies, and trying to find one that fits in with them can make it very, very difficult. So yeah, I totally get that. Debbie, what's it like here in the UK versus what Katie's just said?
It's the big rescues, the well-known rescues, the ones that people think off the top of their head, the ones that are on television quite a lot. I'm not going to name any names, with celebrities and blah 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 blah. They are very when they're quite corporate now, but the welfare of the dogs is paramount. The kennel staff are incredible. There are, protocols for dogs that come in that are a risk, with assessing. They can't just be rehomed the next day. You can't just walk in and go, I want that one. There's process to go to with rehoming forms. Dogs that are what we used to call gifted in, where the owners relinquish the dog, they have to fill in a form. But you would hope that people will be completely honest, but sometimes guilt and embarrassment can, people can be a bit more guarded with how big the problem as they see it is. And I know from discussions that I've had both with Sam and Katie, a lot of it is not understanding the dog that you have in front of you. So yes, I don't know what something Katie and I haven't talked about is, what the fees are over there. There's a sort of general fee which would cover neutering, microchip, vaccinations, boosters and stuff like that when a dog's rehomed. And the big rescues do have sort of behaviour hotlines and rescue backup and stuff like that. And some of the abroad ones as well will offer that, where they have a contact in the UK, be it Samantha or one of us in the UK that can offer support and backup. But rescue is a very broad term for the general public's understanding of what rescue or rescuing a dog is and where it is coming from.
Which is quite a big problem. Well, it's not a problem. It's like an umbrella word in some ways, the word rescue, because I've worked with clients that have said to me their dog's a rescue, only to find that they got their dog from a friend next door. Yeah. But I understand why they've used the terminology rescue, but it's so used so much. Unless we delve deeper, will we really know whether it's a rescue coming from places that you guys work in, the environments you work in, or it has just come from across the road, yeah, and rescued because they thought they weren't looking after it properly, yeah. So I suppose I understand that they have rescued the dog in one sense, but we're talking here today about rescue centres, rescues coming from different parts of the world, yeah, people that run rescue centres, how they are run, what are they like, how do they rehome their dogs,
I
what
think
help.
you're right, though, Colin. I think it is a problem, especially I don't know what it's like with the smaller rescues in the US, but over here in the UK, we have a lot of rescues that are Facebook pages that will have the exact opposite of what Debbie has just described, where a dog will come in, it will be picked up by transport, and I'm using all these terms very loosely, and it will be brought to another home with kids, with dogs, with no assessments, and dropped off somewhere else within 24 hours. And I think it's very difficult for the general public to know what is a legitimate rescue organization and what is a Facebook page, because over here you can be a Facebook page that's technically registered as a charity, but there's not really anyone over. I know that obviously the charity organizations, they are overseeing it, but you can register as a charity and still not have anything in place for home checks, assessments, anything like that. So I think it is a problem at the minute in the UK for sure. I don't know what it's like Facebook page wise or social media wise in the US, but I imagine it's very probably the same.
It's very much like that. But one thing that I will kind of differentiate, because I'm not sure exactly how it is in the UK, we have our government controlled animal control facilities, all over. Every county has one. Then you have rescues who will pull from them. So dogs, cats, any critters that come in can be adopted from any of these places. And the ones that are run through the government, through counties and states and things like that, their criteria for adopting is not strict, because it is considered an open admission shelter, and there really isn't any vetting. They will do some for the best interest of the animal. If they see someone walk in and they're just determined they're going to leave with a dog or a cat, even if they came in to see, Fluffy, but then they decided Fido was a better fit. So, the local county shelters try to do a good job at that. But if somebody comes in and wants to adopt an animal, they get to adopt an animal. Aside, I guess, I don't even know if they check for like felony convictions against animal cruelty. I'm not really sure. But I do know that I've seen it many times. They just are allowed to, oh, okay, you want to adopt this dog? Here you go. Pay your very small fee. And usually in a lot of county shelters, not all, but in a lot of them, there is no funding to spay, neuter, vaccinate these animals. I do think a lot of them, if they are there past their stray hold period, they are given at least a rabies. But it's a funding issue on that. And then when they do get to rescue, which is where we want them, we want them out of the county shelters, not because the county shelters don't do the best they can. They just aren't funded or equipped. They are really a holding facility. Think of like the drunk tank, right? You're here to sober up and move on. So the rescues is where you want them. That's where we're going to get the assessments. That's where we're going to get the vetting, all the care that they need, and trying to find a good fit for that dog. And again, like Colin was saying earlier, not all of them are the same. Some of them don't do a good job of that. Some of them are just like you said, they're just a Facebook front, and they'll just push, oh, here's a dog who needs a home. I think this and then just passing it off without actually knowing, is this a good match, and bouncing that animal once again. But, I think that I just wanted to point that out, that there are government agencies, and they run differently than rescues run here. And then rescues are all over the place.
That's frightening, but we're used to it here in
Yeah.
the UK, where dogs are not really matched up sensibly. yeah, for the most part, to the adopter. And it does worry me if someone can walk into one of those facilities and just say, I would like that dog over there, and they're handed a lead and collar and off they go. That's a disaster in some cases, not all cases, I'd imagine, in some cases that are just waiting to happen. I think that's quite poor, but you know what? It is what it is, and has been for many years, probably hasten to add. So, what's it like here, Debbie? Is there any similarities there?
I think, like Sam and Katie said, the Facebook thing is a big worry. There is a big site that advertises dogs. People put their dogs up for sale, and I've been working with a client who has got one from this site, and it was not great, and then felt bad for other dogs. So the sort of pity thing. So I'll go and get another one from the same site, which wasn't great the first time, was even worse the second time. So she now has one very shut down dog, but she felt bad. And I think that if people are turned down by a rescue organisation because of the age of their children, or they're out at work all day, and it may be suggested that they have an older dog, a much older dog, that would be quite happy with what we would call working day with break, where someone comes in at lunchtime and spends an hour with them and takes them for a mooch and what have you. I think if the general public are turned down, then they go, okay, I'll go the easy route. I'll either go onto this advertising site and take somebody else's dog for a couple of £100, or I'll get one from abroad. And then, the cycle, if they don't find a reputable rescue from abroad, should I say, then the cycle continues. And then, more dogs are bred, more dogs end up in rescue, and it turns into a vicious circle. So I think it's more frightening in the U.S. because there's so many states and it's all done differently. So there's no consistency, for want of a better description. But over here, I think probably our biggest worry is when people are turned down. If they're that determined to go and get a dog, they will get one no matter what. Whether it's the right dog is a whole nother conversation. And that's where, we end up picking up some of the pieces and trying to do our best to support the family and the dog.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's spin it on its head. What are the green flags? What are the things that people should be looking out for, both here and in the US, for even UK rescues or for rescues from abroad? What should they be looking for that will give them signs that this is a reputable rescue? This is the type of rescue that I should be looking for. What are those green flags? Either of you.
All right. So thinking about one of the rescues that we have here that we work with very closely, first of all, it's the following that they have, but it's not the following on Facebook that they have. It's the following physically that they have. They have volunteers for everything. They have a huge network and it's foster based. They do have a facility because they've opened a vet clinic there, but it's not necessarily just to house dogs. They want everybody foster based, but they're following. So when people ask me about like, oh, what do you know about this rescue? Or what do you know about that rescue? I kind of listen out and I want to hear, are volunteers leaving the rescue for legitimate reasons? Volunteers will always come and go. They'll, get their feelings hurt or whatever and decide, I don't want to work with that rescue because of whatever. But if they're leaving for legitimate rescues, like lack of support, they're not supporting the animals, they're not providing the needed supplies, things like that, then that's when I'm making mental notes. Like maybe that rescue is not, that's going to spill over into many other areas. But if they have a really good following, they have a solid volunteer base that sticks with them. This particular one that we work with, they have volunteers that have been there since day one. And I know that a lot of rescues do, but they have a lot of volunteers that have been there since day one. This particular rescue gets it right for the volunteers, which means they're also getting it right for the dogs.
Yeah.
You know that if your volunteers are treated well and you're doing a good job at finding volunteers and matching the volunteers, the fosters, with dogs that suit them and not just throwing something at them like, well, this dog needs a place to land. They want their volunteers to have dogs that fit their lifestyle as well. So kind of feeding into the whole family dog mediation legs program. I like that rescue for that reason. They want to make sure that when a dog goes into a home, that the needs of that dog are going to get met. The needs of those humans are going to get met. That's how that's going to work the best. It's not going to work well if either side is not satisfied and fulfilled. So that's one thing that I always tell people, look for that. Do they have a good volunteer base? Do you hear from the president, the organizer, or are you just dealing with a bunch of people who want to be the leaders and the boss? There always has to be someone who is kind of overseeing everything. Doesn't mean they don't have a board and a committee or whatever, but you want someone who actually has the vision, can make things kind of go in a good direction and works well with others. So I always tell people, look at the leadership of that organization. What do you hear about them? What do you know about them? And I don't mean gossip and rumors. I mean actual, factually based things. So I think that again, I'm just thinking of a particular one we have around here that is, they put their money where their mouth is. They have done everything in our community to help the community, to help the dogs. They're in the shelters every week. They run a vet clinic out of their rescue, all these things that take money and time and effort. And she's done all of this in like 15 years. I mean, it's the phenomenal, the amount of things she's been able to accomplish, and that doesn't mean that's the only good rescue. It's just, that's one, my example is that I want clients to be able to go to that and in good faith feel like they're going to get all the support they need. If something doesn't work out, like we are trainers for that rescue. If something doesn't work out for one of their adopters, they're going, hey, can you go over there? Just bill us. So they want to have it, they want to have the right information in the right place. All that support, it needs to trickle all the way down, to for years to come for that animal. And that's what a rescue should do. And if a rescue cannot provide that, they need to reel in their numbers. It isn't just about numbers. We have a lot of rescues around here who are just like bragging about, oh, we had 500 dogs come through, but were they good adoptions? Did the dogs stay in the home? Did the adopters and the fosters, they get the support they need? All of those things are really important. It is a total group effort. And without all of that group effort, it won't work. And we see a lot of people that they don't get the support that they should get when they're adopting a dog. And I really feel like there's many times we can make things stick better and flow better if we just see it all the way through to the end.
Wow.
Debbie, what about you? What do you think the green flags are for UK side of things?
For UK, very much like Katie, it's, that everyone's got to be singing from the same song sheet. It's not an ego thing, like Katie said. It was like, oh, we had so many dogs through. It's networking. It's having people to lean on and support, to support the owners, to support the fosterers, and setting everybody up for success. Because if the dog goes into the right foster and then onto a home, it's more likely to be successful going forward. So rather than someone going, dog needs out, we'll just put it with Auntie Mabel over there. And Auntie Mabel's like, well, I can't walk this 50-kilo German Shepherd, and I'm just going to, we'll just get him rehomed. So it's having the green flags for me are support. The big rescues over here that are really well known, they have that network. When I was at Battersea, the kennel staff that were there then, some of them are still there now. So, you know, it's taking care, it's looking after everybody within the industry, and everyone's got an opinion, but it doesn't mean that no one opinion isn't valid, but everyone's got to align together for the right outcome for the dog and for the prospective family. So just because the charity might have a registered number, it doesn't necessarily mean, and this is nothing against smaller charities, because there's some great small charities out there that do amazing work, but it's finding the right one. Have you heard of them before? Has somebody else heard of them? Have you spoken to someone who's got a dog from them where they got rescue backup support, and, you know, advice to seek a reward scientific force-free based trainer, rather than just going, oh, you know, go and find yourself a trainer. Has the dog had all a rescue that the dog goes out, if appropriate, neutered and with all its vaccinations, and with a support package saying, this is how the dog behaved here. This is, you know, what maybe you should be looking out for. This is what we'll offer you, and this is how we'll help you going forward. And if you've got problems, you can always come back to us. It's a lifetime support.
Yeah, it is that finding the right foster home and the right adoptive home. It's not just that is a home. Rescue is more about putting a dog in a home. It's about finding the right home for, like you said, both said, for the family and for the dog. It has to be for both, or it's just, you know, the environment's just not going to be right and it will never ever work. And you've both sort of mentioned a little bit about welfare and welfare models. Now, obviously, I know Debbie, and Debbie has mentioned the total welfare model a little bit to me before. Katie, tell me a little bit more about the total welfare model that you both work with.
Sure. So, you know, we want to make sure that every need of that animal is met. You know, they need to have a food, water, shelter, the proper care, but they need what works for that particular dog, right? You know, what works for a border collie might not work for many other breeds, right? You all know that. I've used border collie because we were so fascinated to watch some herding trials on TV, and we're just fascinated by the whole watching those border collies do their thing. So if we don't have that, if we don't meet the needs of that particular dog, we put them, I would never put a border collie in an apartment. Unless it was one who was the total unicorn, totally different couch potato. Yes, there are some that present that way, but that's not the norm. So you put that border collie into an apartment, and now you've got a very frustrated everything. Everybody's frustrated. So we want to make sure that all of the needs, the total welfare for that dog is being met. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect, right? It is a learning opportunity on both sides. Having a little herding breed myself, the tendencies are so strong. Sometimes their feelings are so strong about things, and you do have to be able to give and take. But that's where, you know, the training side of things comes in, where can we help to modify some of those urges that dog has to be able to make it work for us. But if there isn't a good balance of that give and take, it isn't going to work for the dog or the human. So, you know, meeting all of those needs, making sure that they have all of the enrichment that they need in their lives, and not trying to throw something at them. Just another example, like working with herding breeds. I love enrichment. I love food puzzles. I love all of those things for my dogs. But some of these herding breeds are laughing at us over that sort of enrichment. They're like, you must be kidding me. I have bigger jobs to do. This is stupid. So we have to listen to that. Just because it's labeled as something that is supposed to be enriching for a dog doesn't mean it's going to be enriching for all the dogs. So again, that's meeting all of those needs, making sure that that dog is in the right placement. In a foster home, we always hope that we can do that, at least checking off most of those boxes for that dog. But in the adoptive home, yeah, it's really important It's really important. And at herding dogs, all the time we get calls where people are like, oh, I have 4 kids and they're under 5. And, you're just, the rest of the story, right? So you're just like going, all right, well, we either give that dog a job somehow, or your kids are going to be standing in a circle in the middle of the living room for a while. So, and to me, it's funny, but they don't always find that so funny.
You're very right, because we all hear that story on a regular basis. Yeah,
Yes.
every one of us. And I do think it's funny to a point, but here's the sad thing. How on earth did a rescue allow that to happen?
100%.
Yeah, that's the bit I can't get my head around, and I stop the laughing.
So like we deal with one rescue that every time they adopt, they're a small rescue, and they might average 20 adoptions a year. Okay, not a whole lot, but they put a lot of time, effort into the dogs. They are taking the ones that are kind of out of chances, don't have a lot of other options. But every dog that's adopted from them, they do a Zoom session with us before they even get the dog. So they've met the dog, they've committed that they want to adopt the dog, but they cannot take the dog home until they've done a Zoom session with us. No dog in the house, so that we can go over their space. We can look around their space through Zoom if we need to, but talk to them about all of the things that will help them be successful with this dog, so that their ears are open and they're listening. We've tried to do this with dogs present, and it doesn't work. The dog's already there. All they're doing is thinking about all the things they're going to do with that dog. So I think that trying to get in there early, get that information in there, so that we are making sure that this is a good fit for that dog before placing it in the home. And a lot of rescues don't do that. We're just starting to see more so rescues around here who are actually taking into account the breed of the dog. I've been saying it forever. And so many people have been like, it does not matter what breed they are. You can teach them anything. And then I always would reflect on my personal brain, which nobody wants to be in my head. But in my head, I'm thinking, now, you could give me a book on quantum physics and I could read that book. I'm not going to know anything about it when I'm finished. You cannot teach somebody something they're not willing to learn. And some people are just more open to that. Some dogs are more open to that. But when they're not, that's terrible. That's a terrible burden to put on the animal, a person, whatever. It's not right. So,
and like you said, it's the stress that it puts on both sides. Like Debbie obviously knows the story. I've been to see in the last 6 months a Brittany. So a hunting dog, a spaniel, extra high energy, that was very unfortunately homed with an absolutely lovely adopter, beautiful adopter. She really, really lovely, really wanted the best for that dog. But she lived in a six floor flat in the center of London, where this dog would have to get in a lift to come all the way down to go outside just to go to the toilet. She didn't drive because she lived in the center of London. And if they needed to take the dog somewhere, that dog was expected to get on a tube and travel to go somewhere else. And obviously all the dog was destroying the house. It was, when I went, I took videos, and it looked like, when you see a caged animal or a tied up bear that is just spinning and spinning, this dog was just spinning and spinning, constantly spinning on the lead, spinning in the house, spinning everywhere it went. And it was just amazing adopter, amazing home, amazing dog, but they should never have been together. And it was just, when you're just thinking, if somebody had just approached someone and asked, are these a good match? And we'd been, no, but this little, this older dog that actually really doesn't need loads and would be quite happy here, that one would be a perfect match. And this dog would actually be a perfect match for this really, this house that has land and things to do. And you could have had 2 amazing adoptions. But it's worrying that those things are just dog, home, put them together. And I think for me, one of the big things is, like you said, the matching of homes, the environment, and the actual yeah, you might, there probably are, you know, there probably is a Brittany out there that loves to lie around and do nothing. I haven't met one, but there probably is somewhere. But yeah, it's matching those things up and, you know, making sure that they're the right fit. Even if it is a small organization, 20 amazing, perfect adoptions is better than 500 adoptions where, you know, 50 have actually been euthanized because of issues, 100 have come back, you know, another 50 have been sold on, and actually that 500 doesn't look so good, you know, when you get to specifics. So yeah, I completely agree.
I think the early intervention.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think you and I are probably singing off the same song sheet here. I think the early intervention is so important. Mm-hmm. You have to do a Zoom, or you may have picked the dog that you think you want, and it's, I don't know, a beautiful Cocker Spaniel, say, and you're like, oh, you know, that's the one I want. But it's not about the looks of the dog. It's about, you know, can this family meet this dog's breed needs? Do they have the time to put into this dog? It's not just going to sit on the sofa and say, hey, look at me, I'm a princess. It's going to be like, I want to be out quartering and flushing things out and doing a bit of chase and doing a bit of digging and stuff like that. And I think, you know, the rescues, it's really hard because they want these dogs out of kennels. But is it at the expense of the dog in the long term? And also an adopter that won't come back because they've had such a
bad experience.
So, you know, Katie's saying that there's a rescue that's, you know, looking at the breed. And yeah, we do have a lot of mixed breeds, but look at the mixture of the breeds. You know, if you have a cockapoo, which is, you know, the fashionable breed, is it a show line Cocker Spaniel, or is it a working line Cocker Spaniel? Because my God, are you going to see some difference?
Yeah.
So, you know, people look at them and it's the aesthetics of the dog sometimes that overtakes actually, can I provide, or the rescue saying, I know you think it's beautiful, but can you provide what this dog needs? Do you have the time to do it? How can we support, if you think you can, how can we support you to do that and understand what's going to happen going forward?
I think that's actually a huge green flag if a rescue turns around to a potential adopter and says, actually, I'm not sure if this is the right fit for you, but we have these three that might be a better match. I think I know people may be disappointed because, like you said, they've seen this, you know, very cute dog and they think, oh, that one would be perfect. And we can go to the pub and we go for lunches together. But if a rescue says, actually, no, these ones might be a better match. Would you like to, you know, find out more about them or whatever? I think that's a huge green flag. So if anyone, I know it's probably very disappointing when you're told no, but that's, yeah, for me, that's a huge tick. Definitely.
But if there was a rule and if all rescues had a proper alignment and member of the public looking for a rescue dog, I would know that's what rescues do. But because they don't operate in that fashion, I would be disappointed.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, whether it's in the U.S. or in Hungary or wherever it is, if we are not regulated to a point where it is policed and enforced, so the rules are always upkept and dogs are rehomed in a certain fashion, using the model you just said, Samantha, it would be a much better place. Yeah.
100%.
Then I now ask the question, what does the word rescue centre mean? Are they really rescuing dogs if dogs have to then go back? Are they rescuing dogs if dogs are going out into the wrong homes? Are they rescuing dogs if people then have them euthanized? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because what is a rescue meant to be there for? I don't think we're going to answer that question in this particular podcast.
We'll be here for a while.
I wanted to chime in and say that because I started in dachshund rescue, when I started in rescue, there were many all breed rescues. There were breed specific rescues, but a lot of them were all breed rescues. And it was very much like, oh, we don't want to look at breed. And then there was that exception, and that was the dachshund. So I know Debbie's familiar with them. They have their own rule book. And so early on, I learned, like, there's something different about them. There's something special about them. And early on in my training years, there were many trainers who wouldn't work with them. So I got a lot of calls because I did dachshund rescue, because I, was big into that, because nobody wanted to work with them because they didn't understand them. And the rescues that I worked with strictly did not adopt to homes with kids. And people would get mad. They would call me and they would go, I just don't understand. My child is wonderful with dogs. I go, I don't think you understand. It's not your kid. Your kid could love that dog, but that dog might not love your kid. Like, dachshunds just don't love kids very much. It's rare, you don't find dachshunds who are just gravitating toward children all the time. So early on, I learned these things are important. We have to listen to that. If this dog isn't going to thrive in a home and it's going to be a risk to the humans or detrimental to the dog, why would we do that? Why would we put them there? So, and I think they're getting better. There's a little bit more of a movement I'm seeing in the rescues. Like, it does matter what their breed is. It does matter what their preferences are. And if we can't meet those needs for that dog, they shouldn't be in that home.
100%.
Totally agree with you. Which then another question I would ask is, what if it's not a specific breed? What if it's a cross, a mix? How do we measure that? Any ideas?
Yes. I'm sorry. This is my first podcast. Can y'all tell? So for me, I think that I love the foster-based rescues. There are some rescues who have a physical location and dogs are there and they have caregivers that come in and take care of them. And yes, those caregivers know about the dogs, but they don't get to see them in a true sense in a home environment because it's a facility. So I love foster-based rescue where the dogs are in a home and we can get all that information, good and bad, and really getting all the information about what are the foster parents doing with them. Like, we've got one we've just taken on for a rescue. The foster parents gave way too much agency and freedom to a puppy. And now he's struggling to understand why there's boundaries because he's 9 months old, right? So what happened is he's been in 3 different fosters, and this last one has given him too much freedom. And now he's struggling. So fortunately, he's an extremely smart little guy. He's picking up very well on some good patterns and routines and kind of how to function in a little bit more of a structured environment. But we need all that information so that we can pass that on to whoever's going to adopt this dog. We want to be able to fill them in, and then kind of working with it, spending a little time with the family. Most of the groups I work with, you don't get to take a dog the minute you meet it. You don't get to see a picture and go, I want that dog, and take it home. You have to have a meeting with the organization, and they get to meet your family. Everybody in the family must be present. They want to see who are they dealing with, and then kind of determine that dog that maybe wants to lay back on the couch and sleep might not fit into a home with 3 rambunctious kids who keep poking at it and want to run around with it, right? So I think all of those pieces are important to bring together. Kind of, what's the family got going on? How is this dog? Making some good recommendations. And I've worked with some organizations that actually say, just put in an application and we'll match you.
Okay.
And then, but so then you're kind of then dealing with, we don't exactly know what this dog is. We don't exactly know what the makeup is, but it seems like that would be a good energy for your household.
You 3 know much better than I do. I have an idea that we might be all on the same answer here. But do rescues have good rounded dog trainers or behaviourists on board? Anyone can answer that one.
Some of them.
Yeah, yes. I'll let Sam take that one. Yes, yeah. I think some of them. I think that I think rescues feel pressure. That families that come in have such expectations of what they see. So first of all, it's the eye thing. You see it looks pleasing to the eye, whether it's, you know, a mixed breed. If they see the dog, like Katie said, if they get their hands on that dog before they have an interview, in, you know, in air quotes, and get to understand, then that's when it can fail, because the expectations are so high. And like Katie said, if we as trainers are working with these rescues and supporting these rescues, and they can open their arms to us and say, oh, hey, you want to do a good thing, you know, it's not an ego thing, then we can prepare the families to help these dogs thrive in their environment before they go in there. A lot of rescues now don't have people trawling through and looking at all the dogs, because it's really traumatic for the dogs, and the dogs that are shut down are at the back of the kennels, and there's kids going, oh look, and you know that. So there's been that move that rescues aren't generally open to the public to walk through and pick their dog. But I think if we as trainers can be within these rescue centres to support them, then it will make the likelihood of success greater, and there'll be less relinquishments. And even if the really big organisations could mentor smaller organisations within their area.
Absolutely. Like I'm very lucky. I work with a UK rescue and an overseas rescue. The UK rescue that I work with have an absolutely fantastic behavioural team. So on that behavioural team, there are clinical behaviourists, neuroscientists, cross behaviorists, vets, vet techs, trainers. There's a real mix. There's about 10 of us, and it's absolutely, honestly, the information in that group is phenomenal. And then the overseas one that I work with, it's very similar to what you were saying, Katie. They have a Zoom call with me before the dog arrives, when they've decided what dog it is, when they've had their home check. They then have a meeting with me, and I then say to the heads of the rescue, yes, they seem to be a good match. Obviously with the overseas side, again, similar to what you said, Katie, the dog in the shelter is not always the dog in the home. They are very, very different. And for me, obviously, they're if the dog hasn't been in a foster home, it's very difficult to sort of know what that dog is going to be like. It's about sort of lowering those expectations and bringing people down to earth of, your dog might do all these things, but it might never do any of those things that you want to do, and really sort of getting people prepared. And if at that point they're like, oh, well, if that's not going to happen, if that's, if it's possible that will never happen, I would rather people dropped out at that stage than they accept a dog, adopt a dog, and then we have an additional trauma of another home, and then possibly another fosterer and another move. And, it's a lot more. So I think it's best to just be honest with these adopters and say, okay, this is the dog that we've got. This is what we're seeing with this dog at the moment. Our best guess is this is how they'll be in the home, but we don't know. And I think sometimes it is just best. And I know it's hard for rescues to say that, because they think a dog needs to be in a home, but it needs to be in the right home.
That was like a hospital. Next.
Yeah. Some of them are like that. It's in and out. Yeah.
It's quite sad. Look, again, it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. For me, what is a rescue? What's their function? How do we? You all said this earlier on. What is a good rescue? What does that look like? If I'm having problems at home, who's going to help me? Where's the backup team? So the rescues that I have worked with, I can't think of any of them where any of them had any dog expertise whatsoever. Yeah, none of them. Yeah. Then there are a couple that, wow, this place is amazing. Yeah. The staff know what they're doing. We can talk to each other on a dog level. Yeah. They understand what I'm saying. I've learned something from them. Yeah. And I said, just show me the dog. Let's go do some work. Yeah. But there are some, it's like, wow, where do I start here? Yeah. The kennels are in a mess. Yeah, which is sad. As soon as I see that, it tells me everything I need to know about the whole structure of the place. So people do struggle out there in finding the right rescue, but half these people don't know what the background of these rescues are like.
Yeah.
Yeah. All they're interested in is the dog. Yeah. And the next mentality comes in where the rescue says next, and it just goes on and on and on. That said, there are some amazing rescues. Yeah. Um, and amazing people like yourselves, for instance. So I want to ask a question. Okay. Do you believe there should be someone enforcing or overseeing each rehomed dog? Should there be someone attached to the rescue who has the expertise, the knowledge, the know-how, that before anyone signs on the dotted line, that individual, those individuals, go and review it before it's all okayed? Should there be something like that?
Well,
And
most of the rescues that we work with have. Um, I I work with one rescue. They have a 3-person check system. So say that they're like, this person's met this dog, they're interested, like say it's an adoption counselor and they're like, I think it seems like a nice fit. And this family would be good for this dog. This dog seems to like this family. They go over the application, they check their vet references, they check their personal references, but then it goes to 3 other people within the organization that are going to look over that application. And I don't know if it's 2/3 vote. I'm not sure what their numbers are, their reasoning, how they congregate there, but they want 3 people to kind of look over that and be aware of what's going on and be mostly, I guess, in agreement that this is a good match um, before they're sending them out the door. And then another group I work with, they make you wait overnight. Even though you've already been approved, you come in, you're meeting the dog. Yes, I want to adopt this dog. They won't let you take it. They're like, well, we want you to go, go home for the evening, talk about it as a family, talk about when you bring this dog in, what you're going to do, all the, kind of the what ifs, all that. And then we'll give you a call tomorrow. So I think both of those approaches are at least a little better than just, I like that dog, let me just take it. But again, those are rescues. When you're dealing with the actual government animal controls, those things don't happen. It is somebody walks in, they're like, that dog looks great. Okay, I'll take it. And you pay whatever the fee is and you take the dog home. So that's why rescues are really important for us. And I think why they're not as regulated, because if you put too many rules and regulations and stipulations, then nobody would do it. We have our own nonprofit that supports rescues. We make that very clear when people go, oh, you're a rescue, can you take my dog? Nope, that's not what we do. We're small. We know what we can't do, right? And it's important to know that too, and not get in over your head. Yes, we have a number of dogs, but we manage them well. We have property, we have space, we have, whatever. But we don't overcommit. Can't do that. If you do, you're going to be in trouble. So we have a nonprofit that puts ourselves out there as support services for rescues. That means when a rescue, animal control facility, whatever, comes up and says, I need help with this dog, like the one we have now, again, had no structure, routine. He needed to learn that because it's not going well the other way. They send them to us and we're able to work with them and help get them in the right place so that they can be adopted, so that we know the ins and outs, what's the best home for this dog. But we don't want to overextend ourselves and say we can do, we're not a rescue. We're not going to take all the dogs in. So that's why we did that and formed it as a nonprofit, because we didn't want to come across or appear as this is our sole income and we are trainers and you're going to pay us, like our regular fee. No, this is either going to be, for most of our government ones, some of them pay, some of them don't, deeply discounted. We just need to be able to kind of cover admin costs or whatever. But other than that, we truly want to help. That's why it's a nonprofit. And that's why they'll reach out to us. But some of them don't reach out for help because you can't blame the trainers. It's their business. That's how they make a living. But we wanted to kind of have that extra piece to go, hey, we're here to support the rescues. We want it to kind of be an effort that all of us can join in on and not feel like that there has to be a roadblock there. You can't ask for help. Now, if they don't ask for the help, that's on them, right? All I can do is put it out there that the offer's there, and word gets out, and some of them do ask. And then you have some who have the unrealistic expectation that because I'm a trainer, that I'm can magically bippity boppity boo change that dog and make it. We get a lot of Malinois and pitties, and they want us to make them Labradors, all of them. They want all of them to be, and I'm like, I don't think you understand. So sometimes people go, oh, they don't know what they're doing because I sent them, this dog that was really on death row and had no other opportunities, and they didn't change it into a nice little lap dog. You get that too. But the service is out there for that reason. We want to be able to help and support those rescues who want to meet the needs of the dogs, who want to understand the dog that they are asking us to help with, and not expect us to overhaul that whole dog's life, world, personality. It's not realistic, not fair.
Hector, just before we wrap up, if there is one thing you could change in the U.S. rescue system, what would that be?
The one thing that I would like to see changed, and the only way that I take in dogs, is to foster first before you commit and adopt. I think everyone should do that. The unfortunate part is that there are too many dogs. If we did that, there would be a kind of a clogging of the system, right? Because people might go, oh, well, I fostered that dog for a week and that didn't work out, so I'm going to turn it back over. I get the reasons why. But for me personally, that's the only way I adopt a dog. I foster. And if I'm like, you know what, this is absolutely the most wonderful fit into my house and family, then it's staying. I think that would be an amazing thing to see happen.
Okay. And Debbie, same question to you. If there was one thing you could change in the UK rescue system, what would that be?
I think for me, it would be more working together, and the smaller rescues being able to say to the bigger rescues, hey, we need some help. Do you have someone that could support us in this? Because I think at the moment it can be quite isolating for the smaller rescues, and they maybe need the support but then don't really want to ask for it, and everything becomes a bit in-house and a bit insular when there are people out there that could help them, and maybe the bigger organizations could take them under their arm and give them that support, and set more dogs up for success and get more dogs out into a bigger foster network. We know as well as Katie does, we're totally overrun here, we're overrun in the US, Cyprus, but we need to protect these dogs. We need to protect our rescue colleagues and staff, and we all need to look after each other. And I think there needs to be a bit of a shift with support and being kind and looking after each other in rescue, because it's a hard industry and it can be really soul destroying, and that it's constant, and it's bigger than ever at the moment.
Debbie, Katie, thank you for coming along and joining myself and Samantha. It's been an amazing discussion and talk. You guys, I can see, are extremely passionate about what you do, including you, Sam, because rescue, anyone that works in rescue, it can be stressful. It is a lonely place. You don't always get the support you need. And I take my hats off to you guys, yeah, because rescues, they will always need this, they need this, they need this, but you guys keep them going. You keep rescues going. And so I take my hat off to all three of you. On that note, we will end this discussion. So everyone who's watching, if you follow Katie, I keep forgetting her surname, Katie
Locks.
Locks.
Last name Locks. Yep.
And how can people find you if they want to find out a little bit more about rescue work?
Sure. So our nonprofit is called the Lucky Ones. It's the Lucky Ones Canine Rehabilitation and Rescue Support Services. But if they look up the Lucky Ones, pink paw print is our logo. So if they see the pink paw print and it's Lucky Ones, that should be us. Our business is Lucky Dogs. We just kind of name them all Lucky because I feel like if dogs get a second chance, then they're a lucky dog. So yes, I would love for people to be able to reach out and ask any questions they have about the services that we do provide for our rescues and shelters here in Virginia. I would say Virginia just because we're not big enough to expand past that. We're going to do what we can.
Okay, thank you. And Debbie?
If people have rescue that they want some support with, then Be Together Dog Training, families with children, and giving their dogs the best life. It's a little bee. So yeah, Be Together Dog Training.
Okay, Debbie and Katie, once again, thank you very much. That's all from us here at Dogs Do Speak podcast. You'll see myself and Samantha again very shortly with another fantastic guest. I'm not going to say that person's name because, shall I say it? Shall I not?
It's a good one.
Our next guest will be Sindhur Pangal, and we'll be talking about the dogs of India. So until then, it's bye from all of us here at Dogs Do Speak.